Hey YouTube, Mike the Alpha Hoarder here. Another video today, not about alpha cards, but every once in a while that's okay. So if you don't know me, I hoard and collect Magic the Gathering alpha cards. I can't get enough of them. And whenever I try to share this little passion with my friends or my family, they usually roll their eyes or mutter to themselves or something like this. So I have turned to the endless void that is YouTube, and now I talk to myself on this channel, documenting my collection and hopefully sharing it with at least somebody out there. So today, I want to talk about this card, Nalathni Dragon. It's a card with an interesting history, and I'll talk briefly about promos in general. I'll show what I have. This is a short video, but one I wanted to cover. So first of all, I'll just show you a few things I've got. I have a pretty small position, I would say, compared to some other cards. But this card was released in 1994. It was distributed at Dragon Con when Wizards of the Coast was there. It was an exclusive card for that event. And it features the art of Michael Whelan. I think that's how you say his name. He is quite famous in the fantasy world. He does all sorts of things. He does the, I think he does the Elric covers. He does Brandon Sanderson's stuff now. He did a lot of the Wheel of Time stuff, I believe. He's all over the place, but great artist. The reason that I originally had a position is because of him. And then this card came up in conversation recently, and I decided to dig into it a little bit. So, media promos, in my opinion, are a fine example of why rarity alone does not make something investable. Which is true of all things, including junk reserve list cards. I have an earlier video on that. Here's a couple to prove that point. These are quite rare, but nobody cares. I think they're cool. I got these graded myself. I like them. But, my kid could color on a rock with a crayon, and it's one of a kind. No one's going to care. There has to be organic demand from people who actually want the item, not just people who want to profit off the item. And so the question with these promos is it playable? Is it collectible? Here's a Guru Land. This is an example of a promo that does have value. And because, of course, Swamp is quite playable, there's a lot of people who are interested in the different art, and this is quite unique. I only have the Swamp. I would like the set, but not worth the money for me. If I was going to spend that money, I would prefer to put it somewhere else. Here are some other cards, some of which are playable. I just think this whole dark thing they did was really cool. The way just one color sort of pops out. I think this one is the big one out of these. This is two different. Yeah, this was two different SDCC runs here. Very cool looking cards. Sort of like Secret Lair. Some of these things are just interesting because they're so unique. And here's some of these old ones that, again, there is really just no value in these cards. You can get them for almost nothing. And that's because promos generally were just too esoteric to have attracted that much attention or to have built nostalgia. I mean, nobody came to the game of Magic and, has a fond memory of this dragon. Almost nobody, right? I mean, that just wasn't the experience. Most people probably never even saw it. You know, playability, like I said, is going to be an exception. This is an excellent card to bling out your deck. And because it's unique art for a card that is available elsewhere, this is actually quite valuable. But not this guy. So a lot of people have piles of these cards. I've heard secondhand, unconfirmed, of more than one person with stacks as high as 1,000. It's the sort of thing that over the years people have enjoyed speculating on and just waiting to see if it'll have its day. Graded, the pop is very low. This has a pop of 5, which is up from a year ago. There were only 2 a year ago, or a year and a half ago. Whenever I actually got this graded, the pop was like 2. Now it's up to 5. So what's the history of this card? The original print run was 10,000, and they were distributed only at Dragon Con in 1994 to the people that attended. And I guess at the time the card was playable. I'm not sure exactly, but there was backlash as a consequence of the way that they released that. Immediate backlash. And so what they decided to do was to make this card available as an insert in The Duelist, which was the Wizards of the Coast magazine, issue number 3, as well as the Duelist magazine companion, issue number 4. Now, we know the 10,000 print run. It's very hard to figure out the print run of the magazine. So here's what I was able to dig up. On September 26th, 1994, Wizards of the Coast issued a press release. And in that, they indicated that the print run for Duelist number 2 was 65,000. And they announced that this card would be inserted. And they had the hope that that would bring the circulation print run of the third volume to 200,000. That was their goal. Now, I couldn't find any source to indicate whether they hit that number or not. But one can imagine a little bit here, if they made a public announcement that they were expecting 200,000, it seems reasonable that that's what they set their printers to do, plus or minus, say, a 10% margin error. Another thing to note is if they announced to the world that they were going to do 200,000 copies of The Duelist and then say they did 400,000, you can be pretty sure there'd have been a follow-up press release. Companies tend to like showing off when they break expectations, and I couldn't find anything like that. So my guess is they fell around their expected range. So say 230,000 copies plus the 10,000. Sorry, say 200 plus maybe 10% as a margin. So 220,000 went into the magazines plus the 10,000 from the original print run. So I would put the upper bound around the 230 range. And then the lower bound, it seems unlikely that volume 3 of The Duelist would have only printed the same number of magazines as volume 2, which was 65,000, especially when they announced higher expectations. So 65,000 plus the 10 from Dragon Con. I think our lower bound is pretty firm. 75,000 copies of this card at least. And then the upper bound, 230, call it 250. I would say there are, in English, between 75,000 and 250,000 copies of this card. So what's that mean for upside potential? That puts this card about on par with a revised rare. So the estimates there, I've seen some say it's as low as 150,000 per rare. Other numbers say it's closer to 300,000. That's in this 250 range, say. So pick an unpopular bulk rare out of revised, Titania's Song, Nether Shadow. Those cards have not appreciated. They are available for 50 cents to $3 or $4. And another thing is, this particular card is likely to tilt towards being in better condition than a typical revised card, because it was presented as a specialty item. And so it seems to me that attrition due to play wear is going to be lower. You know, if you get this at Dragon Con, you know, as opposed to opening it in a pack, and you know it's a specialty item, you're probably not going to let it get beat up the same way you might if you just opened a booster, you know, a starter deck, I mean, and started playing with the cards. So the normal attrition, the normal distribution of conditions that you see probably doesn't apply here. So not only do we have a print run that's probably on par with revised rares, more of them are going to be in nicer condition. So I don't think this card is a great investment. I think it is a high risk, low reward proposition. Now that's not the case for all promos. You know, some like I said, if you want to grab some Guru Lands or Mana Crypts or some of these fascinating, unique items, I think that can be a great market to make some moves in. But unfortunately, as much as I love this artist, and this is his one and only piece for Magic the Gathering, and as interesting as the history of this card is, I don't personally advise spending a lot of money to build a position in this card. Now, this one I don't really have any numbers for. All I can find is the impression that this is rarer. And if you search online, that definitely is reflected in the available listings on multiple markets, as well as the price. But again, what's lacking is the organic demand. It's still not playable in Japanese, Chinese, I'm not sure. It's still not playable in the Japanese, I think is what this is. Is it any more collectible? You know, maybe. I mean, I want a copy as a collector, but I just want one. You know, I don't need a bunch of them. The nostalgic value isn't going to be there for that card, so again, you're stuck in this sort of greater fool, low depth market, where the people really interested at best are going to be other investors, and that is not a healthy market that is likely to produce any fruit down the road, in most cases. But you know, what the hell do I know? I regret not swapping out my background. I realized just as I finished making that video that I actually have some playmats with the art of Michael Whelan. So this is, of course, the cover of The Way of Kings. This here is Words of Radiance. And I've got Rhythm of War here. So, yeah, really brilliant artist. Should have planned that better. Thanks for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, then go ahead and read the first 4 books of the Stormlight Archive, and then tell me in the comments below if you think Shallan's mother is actually the Herald Chanaranic. See you next time.